Hello everyone, it's Jamie and welcome back to my channel and welcome to what is going to be my first cross-stitching update of 2026. It is currently like 4 p.m. on December 31st, 2025. I just filmed my whip parade / what whips I'm going to be working on in 2026. And as you can see, I also have not taken my tree down yet, but that will most likely be coming down in this video at some point. The tree will be going away. Anyways, so I have already talked in my plans video for 2026. It's loose plans. It's basically just these are the whips I'm working on. Anyways, I've talked before about 10 whips are coming in to 2026 with me, and I would like to try and work on all of those whips every single month. And I'm not exactly sure how I want to rotate through them. So one idea I have is rotate projects every 1,500 stitches. Another idea is to rotate projects every 2 days or every 3 days. But the problem with that is that if a project is pulled out and then I have 2 days where I don't stitch, then that project won't really get progress. So I'm not sure yet exactly how I'm going to rotate through things. So I think what I'm going to start off with is try and at least get 1,500 stitches into a project before I rotate. And if I finish those stitches in like 1 day, because some of the projects are half cross, so I can finish quite a few stitches in 1 day. If I do it in 1 day and want to keep it out for 2 days, then I will keep the project out. But if I am ready to switch projects, then I will switch after 1,500 stitches. That's what I'm starting off doing. That could change later in the year. Anyways, the first project that I'm going to be working on is Dark Cinderella, which is artwork by Barrett Biggers and charted by Pain Free Crafts. This is my starting point currently, and I am just going to keep working. I think I'll most likely work in the dark area. I don't think I really feel like working in this light area right now because this is on 32 count. And it's 1/1 half cross, and it's like 4 o'clock, so the sun's going down, and at nighttime I don't think I want to be working on light stitches on light fabric. So I will be back once I have an update on this, and then at the end of the video I might also talk a little bit about books I'm reading, because I have our book club book for my family's book club will be starting. We have a book picked for January, so I will be starting to read that in January. Plus I have a couple books that I'm almost finished reading. I am currently almost done with the second book in Crescent City, the series by Sarah J. Maas, and I am almost finished with a book called The Storm, which is by Rachel Hawkins. So I will talk about all that stuff at the end of the video, and also any knitting or crocheting. But I am going to go and get stitching on Dark Cinderella. I am back, and it is currently January 2nd, and I have put in, I think, 1,700 stitches on Dark Cinderella. And the first day I worked on it, which was New Year's Eve, I was working in the darker bits over here because it was later at night and so the lighting wasn't great. And then yesterday on January 1st, I was really unsure where to go. And that's one of the things with this chart, is because like so many things are like not really like full detail, so you can't be like, I'm going to focus on stitching this thing. I kind of didn't know where to go. Like there's not like, you know, a bird or anything. Like there's not like a thing to stitch on really. It's just kind of like blurry background, you know, that kind of comes together once you fully stitch it. But so I really didn't know what to do. And then I realized that this here was technically spanning 4 pages. So it was 1, 2, 3, and then this part was part of page 4. And I realized that the pages weren't complete because they needed like stitching done just in this bottom section. So I decided to start completing pages. So I got page 1 finished and page 2 finished, and then page 3 needs like this much more and then it will be finished, and then page before. So that's what I decided to do, is just start working on pages. And I think when I come back to this one, I will keep working on pages going across and then eventually start, you know, the second row. I don't know if I'm going to do like the whole first row across and then do the second, or if I'll just like get like halfway across and then decide I want to come back down and start working in some of the parked threads, because there are a lot of parked threads. But look at all the colors. I love how pretty those colors are, especially after all the reds and oranges and browns on Autumn Harmony. Seeing a lot of these like blues and greenies and purples is lovely to work on. So I enjoyed working on this, and yeah, I really like the fact that I can like visibly see progress, because I took a before picture of this, and so I will have tried to insert it at some point. So like, here's where it is now, here's the before picture, and I like that I can see a change. You know, you can see that there is more of the dark, and then also you can see the line of where these pages were filled in. So happy with that. Now I'm going to work on another project, which I couldn't decide which project I wanted to work on. So I asked my daughter, I was like, these are all the charts that I'm going to be working on. You can pick any of them except for Dark Cinderella. So pick whatever you want. And she picked Pokemon Switch, which is by Glitch Stitch AU. So I will be working on that today. That also will be a nice change, because Dark Cinderella was on a 32 count and this is on 18 count. So here is where I'm at on Pokemon Switch. And this one, I'm gonna also try and do like 1,500 stitches at least, which will take longer because it is full cross. It's 2/1 full cross. But it might actually be kind of fast, because this area here with the grass, there are still like over 1,000 stitches, I think, of that green. So if I just pick one color, I could possibly get this done somewhat fast. And this chart is one that is close to being finished just because it's small. I think there's only 7,000 stitches left on this. So my plan is to hopefully have this one finished in like the first half of 2026, hopefully, fingers crossed. And so yeah, that is what my plans are, is I will be working on Pokemon Switch. I also have started a knitting project, which I will show later, and I am working on a skirt. And I was also going to mention, I was looking over my 2025 stitching numbers, like how much I stitched each month. And at the beginning of 2025, everyone in my house got sick for like a month and a half. It started at over Christmas break. I got sick a few days before Christmas, and then we kind of all like got knocked out in the week leading up to New Year's. And one of my kids was actually sick New Year's Eve. They woke up and were just throwing up, and we think that it was most likely norovirus, because that was going around where I was living at the time. Like they had things, there was like I saw there was like stuff on the news about it a lot, like people have norovirus, it's going around, getting really sick. And it took a long time for us to fully recover. Like we were tired, not able to eat for weeks, it seemed like. And then we also got a cold at like the same time, like right afterwards. So we had the sickness where we're throwing up, and then we were recovering, and then got a cold. And so yeah, it was a rough month. All that to say that my stitching at the beginning of last year was awful. I stitched 10 days in January of 2025. I think my stitch count for the month was like 10,000 stitches. And then in February, I was starting to get better. But then I think I was reading a lot, because I was reading the third book came out in the Fourth Wing series. And so I reread Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and then Onyx Storm. I read all three of those starting at the end of January, which took a while because they're pretty big. And so I was reading. I think I was knitting at the time too, because I made some muscle bra hats, and then I also started working on a knit vest. And so yeah, my January, February last year sucked for cross stitch. So February, I think it was one day that I stitched in February, and I did 200 stitches on Autumn Harmony, and that was it in February of 2025. So I'm really hoping that this year is better, because that really affected my stitching number for the year. I didn't even look at the final number for the year because I was like, it's not going to be that good with those 2 months being so bad. An example of like a good stitchy month for me is December of 2025. My number was like 22,000 stitches or something like that because I was finishing Autumn Harmony and then I started working on all those projects during Flossmas. So that was like a great month. And so yeah, like when you compare that, like my good stitchy months were in like the 20,000 stitches, and then in the first 2 months of 2025 I did like 10,000 stitches. Was not great. So I'm really hoping that that doesn't happen this year because it really would just throw off the goals. And like I think that's part of what happened last year is with Autumn Harmony, I was supposed to have gotten a lot more done on her at the beginning of the year, and then all of that just like fell apart because of being sick and everything. So yeah, I am hoping that doesn't happen this year. And anyways, I will be back once I have some stitching to show, either tomorrow or Sunday. I can't remember what day it is. Today's Friday. And also my tree will finally be down. I'm taking that down tomorrow. So say bye-bye to the tree. Goodbye, Christmas. And we will see you, you know, at the end of the year. Anyways, I will be back once I have some stitching to show. I am back and it is Sunday, January 4th, and I have done, I think, 1,600 stitches into Pokemon Switch, and I was trying to finish filling in this green and something horrible happened. Okay, it's not that bad. I'm just gonna switch colors. But basically the color that is used in most of this grass is DMC 389594. And it's one of those DMCs that was a newer color and you could only buy it in like a pack, I think, and they don't have it anymore, I don't think. I'm pretty sure it's discontinued. And I thought I had a whole nother skein of it because I had bought in 2 packs of those new DMC colors when they were out, and I don't have another one of the greens. So I'm just going to have to use a different green. And so I kind of tried to like make the like with the last strand of that color I had left, I kind of tried to like make it so it wasn't a straight line so that it would try and like blend a little bit better. And then I'm having to use a slightly different green, which is also in the pattern, to fill in this area here, which it's just grass, it'll be fine. But yeah, it's kind of annoying that I ran out of that color. Anyways, so I did my stitching on Pokemon Switch, and now I am ready to switch projects because stitching on 18 count, it's not what I'm wanting to do anymore. I want to do like a full coverage that's a half cross, and you know. So I had 2 projects that I was thinking about. I was thinking about either Fables by Gecko Rouge, or I was thinking about Christmas 2, and Christmas 2 ended up winning. So I will be stitching on Christmas 2, which is artwork by Ciro Marchetti and charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. And I decided to pull this one out because this is one like my seasonal project, so it will be put away at the end of February. So on March 1st, I will be switching projects. So I was like, let's pull this one out. And I would like to stitch down and try and see if I can get to the snow globe that's down lower. Like, it might be a lot of stitches, but it's half cross. So I'm gonna just see if I can make it to the snow globe that is farther down, which I doubt that I will be able to make it there because this is a large chart, and so it's probably like multiple pages down that I would have to try and stitch down. This is on a 32 count, 1/1 half cross, and I am using CXC floss on this one just because CXC floss is a little bit thicker than DMC, and so for 32 count, 1/1, I feel like the CXC gives a slightly better coverage. So yeah, that is what I will be doing. I am really excited to be working on this piece the next couple of days, and I will be back once I have some progress to show on Christmas 2. I am back, and there is a little time jump. So it is currently January, I think 12th. It's a Monday, and I don't remember the last time that I recorded, but I was working on Christmas 2, which is by Ciro Marchetti, and since then I have worked on Christmas 2, I have worked on Rose Library, and I have worked on Dragon Hall. So I will show you everything that I've worked on. So I had mentioned on Christmas 2 that I wanted to work on down to the snow globe, so I found colors that would get me there without having to count too far away. So I stitched on some black, and I think it's dark brown, and I was able to work my way down to the snow globe. Yay! So I did 1,500 stitches on this, and then I was ready to put it away. And so I am like set up to where the next time I work on it, I can work on the snow globe, but I was ready to switch to something else. And so I ended up pulling out, where is it? I have to find it. Rose Library, which is by Ivy Dollamore, charted by Unconventional X Stitch, and it's retired, but I pulled this out and I did 2,000 stitches into this piece because I was just loving working on it. So I have a before picture, so I will insert that and make sure everyone can see, you know, where I was working. And I decided to start trying to fill in this area here and try and connect this piece that I originally started with. And then last summer I had moved down and did the flowers for Big Brother Stitchy Games, so I wanted to connect this section. And it is going very well. I love it. I love this piece so much. I don't know how many times I can say that, which is why I got 2,000 stitches, because I got to 1,500 and I was like, I want to keep working on it. So I did. And this is on 25 count, 2/1 half cross. Love this, cannot wait for it to come back up. And then I ended up working a little bit, very tiny bit, on Dragon Hall, which is by Long Dog Sampler. And I did not get a ton done, and I feel like for this one, I want to do my 1,500 stitches, but I think I'm going to have to kind of rotate it out. So like do like daily stitching where I do like 100 stitches a day, and then work on full coverage after, because I think that's the thing, is I think I'm more in the mood for full coverage right now. But I do still want to work on this because it is a small chart, so if I just work on it a little bit at a time, it will get done. And so that's what I'm going to try and do, is just keep doing like daily-ish stitching or something and try and get it done. So I have done like 600 stitches since the beginning of the year on this piece, and I was filling in this area of the castle here, and then also some of the black down here. And I think what I would like to do is work my way over to the border and actually start working on the border and then fill in the inner part. So I think that is what I might do when I work on it today or tomorrow, is try and get over to the border. And the fabric I'm using is called Iron Ore. It is from thesewingshop.ca, and I love this fabric a lot. It is very fun, like with the way the colors change. And I am using not the called for flosses. I am using anchor flosses that I had. I was just like, I have a bunch of those little anchor spools because Michaels was clearancing them out, and so they were very cheap. And so I just decided to sub them in. I also think I might add some sparkle. So over the dragons, there's supposed to be crowns. I think I might make those like a gold because I have some of that DMC Diamante or whatever it is. And so I think I might put that there. And I'm also thinking about adding it here. There's like these like swirly things, and I think I might do like gold or something because I like sparkles. So this is also, it's 1/1 on 20 count. So that's another thing of like, I feel like I want to work on full coverage, and I also don't really want to work on 1/1 right now. So I think that's slowing me down, but I'm going to keep working on it. So in my next update video, you will hopefully see some more progress on this piece. And also, what I have stitched so far means that I currently only have 5 whips so far that I haven't touched yet, because I am only working on 10 whips this year. And so I still need to work on Witcher, which is from Thread Geeks, but it's retired. I need to work on Fables, which was from Gecko Rouge. I have Dragon Race Into the Night and Cozy Winter Book Nook, which I'm really excited about both of those. And those are both artwork by Rose Kahn, charted by Pain Free Crafts. And I have Merry Mushroom Village Picnic number 3, which was my Haid stitch along from 2024. So I'm excited for my stitching coming up because I've got a lot of full coverage charts to work on. Love full coverage. And I think that's all though for cross stitch. So I will move on to crochet, and knitting. So the first thing I will talk about is crochet. It's in this box because I was like, I need somewhere to put this while I'm working on it. And the bag was just annoying because trying to pull things out of a bag when like the sides just want to like fold over was bugging me. So during Flossmas, I made a bunch of granny squares using scrap yarn. So I have a whole bunch in this box of granny squares. And I had also previously made granny squares. Like I had started making scrap granny squares like 2 years ago. And I knew I wanted to make a blanket. And I also just kept getting like demotivated. So I would work on it, like in Flossmas I worked on it, and then once January 1st hit, I was not working on it. And so I was like, I need to do something to get me motivated to work on it. And so I looked up how to do the continuous join as you go for connecting granny squares. And I actually started connecting my granny squares. So the way you do the continuous join is really fun. So I watched a video, and I will link the video down below. But you start from one corner and then you go up, and then you're only working on like the one square at a time, and then you end up connecting. Once you get to like this other side, you end up doing like a little slip stitch to connect it to the other one as you're working up this side. I don't know, it's really fun. There are so many videos and diagrams showing you how to do it. And so I started putting my blanket together. So I have four rows done, and I am ready to start putting another row on, and I think I have enough squares for a few more rows. And so I think what my plan is going to be is each row is 10 squares, so I am going to be trying to make a few squares every day, and then also, you know, some nights adding a row. And so I'm hoping this will keep me motivated because I'm actually like seeing a blanket coming together, you know, and so that has me like super excited. Also, it's so bright and colorful. It's so fun. And then also there is this one square here where I made a granny square heart, which I watched a video. I don't remember what video it was. And I only made one though because the heart was not the easiest thing to do. Like it was a lot more fiddly than just a normal granny square. So I probably wouldn't make too many more of those. And I also still have ends to weave in back here. So some of them I did weave in the ends, but some of them I didn't. But yeah, I was just like, putting it together is exciting. I feel a lot more excited about this blanket now. And the yarn that I'm using as my like final color around each square that's joining them is from Knit Picks. It is the Mighty Stitch yarn, and this is the color Chocolate Heather. It's a nice like neutral, but I like things that are more like not gray, so it's a nice like kind of like brown without being too brown, if that makes sense. So I was working on that. I actually had a day that I didn't cross stitch because all I did was join the rows. I did all 4 rows in one day. It was, I think, Saturday. I just spent all of Saturday just connecting granny squares, and just it was fun. And it's also fun because I don't have the whole blanket planned out because I obviously haven't made all the squares. So what I do is once I have a row finished, I will lay this out, and then I will lay out the squares that I have, and then I will just kind of pick which ones will not really go, but I just don't want to I want to make sure that I'm not putting like 2 that are the same together, because I do have some that are like very similar, like these two. I just wouldn't want to put like these 2 together. You would want to have like, you know, some pink or something in between them. So that's the only thing, is I'm trying to make sure that there's not like 2 colors that are the same together, but otherwise I don't care. It's a scrap blanket, and it's very scrappy, and I love it. So, and it's funny though, because for clothing I almost always wear like black. How many black shirts do I wear? A lot. And yet for things like the blankets and stuff, I'm like, colorful, all the colors. It makes me happy. And like my cross stitching has a lot more colors compared to my wardrobe, which is very neutral. Anyways, so I worked on the blanket, and if I can remember where I put it, I also started a skirt. So I had been talking about wanting to start a skirt, and the skirt that I was talking about originally was a wrap skirt. So, you know, you would like tie it. Very cute. But then I looked at the pattern, and I didn't read the pattern like before I favorited it. Like I like to look at patterns, and I'm like, ooh, the picture's cute. Favorite. And then when I actually read how it's made, I'm like, I can't do that, or I don't want to do that. So I was looking at the pattern for that skirt, and you steek it. So you knit it in the round and then you cut it, and then you finish the edges. But I also saw a couple people who mentioned having like fit issues where like it ended up being like a little bit too big or whatever, because there are like some shaping elements to like the back of the skirt where you're doing like decreases to make it kind of like fit more. So if it doesn't fit right, you have like some shaping into it that is off. So I was like, do I really want my first steeking project to be a skirt that could possibly not end up fitting right? No. So I ended up deciding not to make that skirt just because I do not feel like I am ready to steek something like that. And then if you have messed up, you cannot just rip it out because you have cut the project. So found a new skirt. I ended up picking the Forest Berry skirt by Fable Knitwear, which it ended up really not being an easier skirt because you start it from the bottom, and the hem of this skirt has this berry pattern all along the hem. So you do like one repeat of this berry pattern around the entire bottom of the skirt, which is like 300 stitches. It was great. So I'm gonna try and hold it up to where you can see. There we go. So the entire bottom of the skirt has this berry pattern, which is like these little bobble things, but then you're also doing some like cable-y thingies to make it look like it's got like some like stemmy things to the berries. And so all around the bottom, you do that repeat. And then once you get to the center front, you are doing, where is it? I'm trying to find where the center front is. And also not drop stitches. So here's the center front. So the center front does have the berry pattern going along the center front, and then you do like a fake button thing. So the skirt is knit in the round, but if you look at the picture of the finished product, it has buttons, but it's a fake button band thing. So you're actually just knitting a ribbed thing, and then you sew buttons onto your fake button band. So that makes it a lot easier than having to knit it flat, where you'd have to be doing like pearls and stuff on the wrong side. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it now that I am done with this berry pattern along the bottom. Things I'm also going to say is Fable Knitwear patterns. I have knit a vest from Fable Knitwear, and now I am making this skirt, and the patterns themselves are not super involved. Like, you don't, like a lot of other patterns will like hold your hand. It will tell you like every single round exactly what you are doing. This one is like, you're gonna do this for this many centimeters, and then you're gonna, do like on the vest pattern I made, it was like every 2 centimeters you're gonna do an increase, but it didn't tell you what increases it wanted you to do. Whereas I'm really used to patterns being like, you do this increase, do this decrease. Like, I am so used to it being like telling you everything, that this kind of more like loosey-goosey pattern was like throwing me off for a minute. Also, the repeat, because each berry repeat is like 16 stitches, it doesn't line up for all the sizes. So like some sizes you end up with like a partial berry repeat, which I didn't like. So I ended up just like figuring out how many full berry repeats I could do, and then have like pearls on the side, because in this berry section you're doing like a lot of pearls. So it made sense to do pearls in the sections where you're not doing the berries. But yeah, like the pattern wasn't lining up, which I'm really used to a cross-stitching pattern, or like they have worked it out to where the repeat would work for each size perfectly, but this did not. So anyways, that was, something. I figured it out, and now I can just keep doing this. I think all I'm doing now is just knit stitch within the berry, with the berry repeat in the center. So I'll be working on this for a while, because this is like a fingering yarn, which also I didn't mention my yarn. My yarn is Holst Garn, if it will focus, and I am using the Tides yarn, which is a wool/silk blend, and it is the color Mares, and I love it. It's just a nice like blue, neutrally blue. So love that, and I hope to one day have a skirt, which you're probably thinking, Jamie, you started a tank top and you didn't finish it, which I did not, but I also haven't felt like working on it. And I think part of it is it's a larger, like a thicker yarn, and I don't really love knitting with those needles because they make a sound. Like, yeah, I don't know. They're thicker needles and it's the same set. They're chiagus or however you say it, but the thicker ones make a sound when you're knitting. It doesn't, I don't like it. So I don't want to work on it. That's all that I have though for crochet and knitting is those two projects and books. We're going to talk about books now. So I read the book The Storm, which is by Rachel Hawkins. It is a thriller and it takes place at an inn in Alabama that has hurricanes. Like every few years they get a hurricane, and it tells the story of a hurricane that happened, I think it was like 30 years ago, where someone died. And there was this friend group where one of them was accused of killing this person. And then you are also getting like present day stuff happening where the person who runs the inn, her mom was friends with the person who was accused of killing this person, and it's just like who actually committed this crime. So that was a good book, nice little thriller. And then I also listened to the audiobook House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas, and that is an urban fantasy / romantasy. So it gets the urban fantasy in it because it is set in more of like an everyday city that has like cell phones and technology, and it's not, like a full like, I'm trying to think of what kind of world. It's not like a full like Narnia. Not Narnia. It's not like a full like The Hobbit universe, or something like that where they're living in holes in the ground. Anyways, Crescent City Book 2. I enjoyed it, but I also feel kind of like it was similar to a book in the Throne of Glass series, where there was one book in the Throne of Glass series that I didn't like as much because I felt like they were just throwing characters and information at you to set you up for the next book. And that's how I feel with Crescent City Book 2. There was a lot of new characters, there was a lot of stuff going on, and I feel like it was all to set you up for Book 3. And so Book 2 ends in a really good way, but there was parts of it throughout where I was just like, whoa, what is going on? There's a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff. So I read that. It was enjoyable. I do need to get Book 3, and I can't decide if I want to read Book 3 or if I'm going to get the audiobook, because I don't think my library has the audiobook for Book 3 because they're Audible exclusives or something. I don't know. So I need to decide about Book 3. And then the next book that I started listening to is Red Rising, which is by Pierce Brown. I really enjoyed the beginning of this book, and I enjoy the concept. It is kind of like a Hunger Gamesy style book is what a lot of people describe it as. And the main character, he finds out that like his government is lying to people, and it is going from there. And I am not enjoying the book, and I think I'm like 30% of the way through, and it's a trilogy, I think. I know there's other books in the series, and I read someone say that if you're not enjoying the first book, you're not going to like the other books, and so I think I might DNF Red Rising. And then what I am actually reading with my eyeballs is Dungeon Crawler Carl Book 2, which is Carl's Doomsday Scenario by Matt Dinneman. And I love the Dungeon Crawler Carl series so far, which like I'm only on book 2, but it is really enjoyable. It is like Earth has collapsed and this guy is put into this game that is televised for aliens, and it's just a wild ride. You never know what is going to come next. It's very funny, and it's also just like good for people who like video game stuff, because there is game stuff thrown in, like spells and stats for the characters, and I'm enjoying it. So I think all of the books might be on Kindle Unlimited, because that's how I got this one, is Kindle Unlimited. But the audiobooks are also great because it's one guy who is doing like a full like voice cast, and it is amazing the fact that this one guy just doing all these voices. And now that I DNF'd Red Rising, because I'm officially DNFing it right now, I do need to pick another audiobook, which I think I have 2 from the library right now. So the ones I have from the library are, one of them my sister told me about, and it was funny because, okay, the library will just give you everything all at once, because I had been waiting for a book for a while from Stephen King called The Eyes of the Dragon, and that had like a few month wait. and that was ready, so I checked that out. And then my sister told me about a book called Witch King by Martha Wells, and then I put a hold on it just like this week, and it said there would be a few month wait, and then what do you know, it's ready now. So I have Witch King by Martha Wells and The Eyes of the Dragon by Stephen King. So one of those two will be my next audiobook, because I like to have an audiobook and a book to read at night. So those are the books that are currently going to be started. And games. I have actually been playing a game, and I started Baldur's Gate 3 finally. I bought it around Christmas. It was like a little gift to myself. It was on sale during the Steam winter sale, because Steam always does seasonal sales, and I am enjoying it, but I'm also getting like so stressed out by like the choices, because if you're not someone who plays games, everything you do will like affect you later in the game. Like you have so many choices to make, like do you kill people, do you save them, and it will affect you later in the game. And right now my party, I'm not gonna do like spoilers or anything, but my party right now has Shadowheart, Asterion, and Lae'zel. If I mispronounce those, it's my bad. And so far right now, Lae'zel is getting on my nerves. She disapproves of everything that I am doing, but I'm also just like, is she important? And so like I am struggling to make decisions on like my party and what to do, because I don't know like how that will affect me later. So it's fine. I'm enjoying it. It's really good. And I know like people have talked about it a lot, like because it's a really popular game. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm also playing it on Steam Deck, and so far it's running well. I purchased it because I know that they did an update, I think in like November or something. They did an update to improve the game, because there was like some issues with like Act 3 on Steam Deck where it would like slow down. And so they did an update that was like an update to help it run better on Steam Deck. So fingers crossed that it all runs well as I play. But I'm really enjoying Baldur's Gate 3, but that also means it's taking away from Stitchy time. But that is all that I have for this video. I will be back hopefully next week with an update on what I've been working on. And so thank you everyone for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!